Barbara is going to give us a professional quality speech that is imbued with humor, which for Barbara is easy because she is a great humorous speaker. But for her, the challenge is to take her short 7-minute speeches and repurpose them to create a full-length professional 22-minute speech. Well, 18 to 22. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Let's switch seats so I can do the timing. Okay, and now I'm pleased to introduce Barbara Gross, Traveling Adventures of Barbara. Traveling Adventures of Barbara, Barbara Gross.
Well, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Yes, I thought I'd share some stories about traveling. Now, my first story is when my best friend from 6th grade called me and asked me if I wanted to go on a Caribbean cruise. Well, I said, great. She goes, yes, you can get a group rate. So I said, book it. So now it's my responsibility to make my airline arrangements. And when I started traveling for business, my colleagues told me, sign up for every frequent flyer program every airline has to offer, but try to throw your business to one airline. And I chose American Airlines. So for this particular Caribbean trip, I decided I'm going to treat myself first class on American Airlines. I get to the airport in plenty of time to check my bag as usual. I go through security, and now I have plenty of time to sit at the gate and relax. Well, just about at that time, I start hearing announcements over the intercom on cancellation of flights. And I'm just hoping that mine wasn't one that's going to be canceled. But I look out the window and I see this black, thick fog rolling into the San Francisco airport. This is not good for me. And yes, they canceled my flight. To make matters worse, this happened to be President's Day week, where a lot of kids were off school, so everybody's traveling. Made the lines to rebook myself even longer than usual. And I'm waiting in line to finally get rebooked. And I have a connection now in LAX. They put me on a red eye to arrive in Miami at 5 a.m. And yes, they gave me the dreaded middle seat. Thank you very much. So much for my first class trip. Now I make it to LA, great. And now I have hours of time on my hands. So what can I do? I just talk on the phone to my friends until I drain the battery till it's dead. I get to Miami, great, 5 a.m., okay. And now I have to find my bag. I go to where I think baggage claim is. There is nobody around. I finally find a janitor and I say, where do I go for my bag? And he points way down to the end of the terminal. I said, okay, and I'm walking and I'm walking and I'm walking. And I finally come to a door that says baggage. And I'm sure it must be locked. But I try the doorknob and it opens. I look and there's mountains of bags. They're topsy-turvy mountains of bags. Now this is way before 9/11, where security isn't what it is today. I didn't even know my bag was in this room, but I had to get my bag or try because I'll have no clothes. The cruise ship leaves at noon with or without me. So I start crawling in these bags and I'm flipping them over, and it was a miracle. I found it. I found my bag. So now I proceed to leave the terminal. And as soon as I get out in the open air, this wave of humidity and heat hits me in the face. And I'm dressed with winter attire because it was chilly in San Francisco. I'm dying, but I just need to flag a cab to get me to the hotel. I get a cab, takes me to the hotel, and now I give him my name to check in. And he's looking and looking, and he says, I don't have a reservation for you.
Oh, no.
I said, what do you mean you don't have a reservation? Okay, how about my friend Jackie? And no. Well, I knew she did a reservation under a group, and I'm looking in the paperwork. I don't see the group name. I have to call Jackie now. It's like 5:30, almost 6 o'clock in the morning, and wake her up. I proceed to get my phone, but it's dead because I drained it in LA. So now I'm in the lobby of the hotel just looking around, trying to find an outlet to just charge my phone so it has enough juice to even call Jackie and wake her up. And I hope she answers. I call the phone and she answers. And I said, Jackie, you've got to tell the desk clerk, what room are you in? And I give him the phone and she tells him the room number and he gives me the key. So now I drag my bag to the elevator and I'm walking down this long hallway and I finally get to the room, but I want to be very quiet. I don't want to wake up Jackie again. So I put the key in the room thing and I get in, and you know that sound when the door shuts in a hotel room, click. I heard the click, and now my eyes are adjusting to the room because it's still dark. So I look and I look at the first bed and it's taken. And I go, well, yeah, that's Jackie, that's okay. But then my eyes focus on the second bed. And all of a sudden, this big guy sits up in the bed and he says, what are you doing in my room? Get out of here. Get out of here. And I'm so scared. I turn, I run, I get out of there as fast as I can. I take my bag, I'm dragging it down the hall. I get in the elevator, I go to the lobby, and I said, you gave me the wrong key. He said, no, I didn't. I said, yes, you did. You gave me the wrong key. I almost got killed in there. So now I have to call Jackie again. I call her up. You have to tell him what room number you're in. What room are you in? She tells me, I look at the key. It's not the key he gave me. I said, tell him again. She tells him again. Now he gives me the right key. Now I have to drag my bag back in the elevator, walk down another long hallway, and I finally get to the room, and it's the right room, and I say to Jackie, listen, let's just try to get a couple hours sleep before we have to get ready to go to the cruise ship. We managed to sleep for a couple of hours, and then I go down the lobby with Jackie, and she's introducing me to all these people in the group. And then all of a sudden, this big guy points at me and he says, that's her. She's the one. She's the one who came in my room. I said, I didn't do it on purpose. The desk clerk gave me the key. And well, it turns out this group was all police officers and they had guns. And I'm lucky I wasn't shot, but I lived to tell the tale. Now, the second story is also about going on a cruise, this time with 4 high school friends. But I wasn't going to let the same thing happen with the airline fiasco again. I'm going to fly 2 nights in advance. So I get to Fort Lauderdale in plenty of time. And so the next day we decide to just hang out at the beach. So I didn't have any suntan lotion. I asked my friend to give me suntan lotion. And later on, we go to dinner and I'm feeling some kind of irritation on my ankle. So I look and it's a blister starting to form. And I said to my friend Susan, I said, what number SPF suntan lotion did you give me? She goes, what do you mean, what number? I said, what number? Well, 50, 60, 70? She said, I gave you baby oil. I'm like, baby oil? I was ready to kill her. And then as the course of the night went on, this blister, I'm not kidding you, got to be the size of a golf ball. A golf ball. Well, Susan said, listen, let's just stab it. That'll fix it. I said, hey, listen, I'm no doctor, but you're not stabbing that thing. So now I'm going on a cruise to meet men. And I've got this honker of a golf ball on my ankle the entire week. Every time I went to the pool, I had to put a towel over my ankle. And talk about a conversation starter. Well, yeah, but it wasn't the one I had planned. Now, story number 3. I travel a lot through business. And again, I wanted to throw most of my business to American Airlines. And I would take these short flights from San Diego to San Francisco on these little puddle jumper planes, I called them, because they only seated maybe 15 people max. So on one flight, when we were about ready to land, all of a sudden this flight attendant comes by in the aisle and starts jumping up and down like this, jumping, jump, jump. And I'm looking at her going, what is she doing? You know, and she kept jump, jump, jump. Well, we land, no problem. But then the pilot gets on the intercom and says, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to share with you that our new flight attendant, Elaine, it happens to be her first flight. And we thought we'd play a trick on her. And we told her that we were having a little problem getting the landing gear down. And what she needed to do is go to the middle of the plane and start jumping up and down to help the landing gear go down. Everybody had a pretty good laugh. Now, story number 4 is again on a little puddle jumper plane from American Airlines. I was flying from Detroit to Chicago, and this flight attendant obviously was having a bad day. And he gets on the intercom and he says, listen, this is a very short flight. We have cranberry juice and water. That's it. Don't be asking for anything else, because we have cranberry juice and water. That's it. Well, he comes to me and I look up and I said, do you have coffee? Well, he goes and the veins in his neck start to bulge and his face starts getting this beet red, like he was ready to kill me. But then I crack a little smile and I said, okay, just give me water. Well, he knew I was teasing him, but he was having nothing to do with me for the rest of the flight. He eventually gave me water, but you know, when the flight is ready to land and the flight attendants do everything they can to collect all your trash, especially your cups, I'm holding my cup up, my empty cup, for him to collect it before we land. And he just keeps walking by me. He's just not paying any attention to me. And everybody on the plane was in on it. You know, they could hear the whole thing. And you know, we just had a really good laugh. Okay, now we're on the next story. And this is about me traveling to a lot of business. I had to do a lot of trade shows and things like that. And I was flying to New York City. And one of my colleagues said, listen, you're going to New York City. You have to stay at the Hudson Hotel because there's a new club that just opened up and people are waiting around the block to get in. And if you stay at this hotel, you can go there and you can tell me if it's good or not. So I said, okay. So the show was very busy, but the last night of the show, everybody had left. I thought, let's check out this club. So here I go, and I'm walking by, there's a long line, and I just, you know, I'm just walking up. And these two guys, right before I was ready to enter the club, they said, "Hey, can you get us in?" So I said, "Well, what's in it for me?" And they said, "Well, we'll buy you drinks all night." So I said, "Oh, okay, why not?" So I walk up with these two guys, and the bouncer says, "You can only bring in one guest." I said, "One guest? What am I going to do? We're all three of us are friends. We have to come together." So after a while, he just gave up and he let me go in with these two guys. So these two guys and I sit down at a table, and one of them puts a bag of magic markers down on the table. So I looked at him and I said, "What are you, an artist?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, you should draw my caricature." He goes, I only do alligators." I said, "What do you mean you only do alligators?" He goes, "Yeah, I only do alligators." Come on, just draw my caricature. You don't have to buy me drinks. Just draw my caricature. I only do alligators. And he just keeps saying, "I only do alligators." Well, hopefully you can see this. I'm going to put it up close to the camera. Maybe you can't yet. Can you see it? This is a cocktail napkin, and it's got the skyline of New York in the background with me toasting with my name. This was a cocktail napkin that he signed that I had matted and framed, and I have it on my wall to this day. And my last story that I'll end with is another trade show I was going to because I was newly hired at this company. And this trade show in Las Vegas was the biggest trade show every year. And you had to book months in advance to get a hotel room. So as hard as my company would try to get me to a pretty upscale hotel, they just had, they didn't have much luck. So they put me in this hotel called El Rancho. Okay, whatever. I mean, how much time are you really spending in a hotel room anyway? So I do the show, and the last night I brought a sequin dress to go out to Caesar's Palace, and I was gambling, and then I was dancing all night. I had a time in my life. 5 o'clock in the morning, I come back to the room. I just plant myself in the bed, go to sleep, and the next day I have to get ready to leave, go back home. Well, because I travel so much, I've always traveled with my suits on their hangers in plastic bags individually, because that way, when you fold up your suits, nothing ever wrinkles. That's a tip for you. So when I woke up this particular morning and I'm looking at the closet, I see that the hangers are hanging, the plastic bags are hanging, but the suit's not there. Only my junky clothes were in the closet. I'm like, what? Nothing was disturbed. I mean, it's just the hangers hanging, the plastic bag, no clothes. I shut my eyes. Maybe I'm seeing things. I open my eyes. Sure enough, all my expensive suits were gone and just junky clothes. So I call security, and they send up this guy that was probably like 99 years old. And I tell him the whole story. And after I finished telling him the whole story, he said, "Well, I can't do anything for you. You just have to go talk to the manager." So now I go to the lobby. I talk to the manager. I said to him, "Listen, I don't have any clothes. Obviously, it had to be like an inside job. They saw me leave in a sequin dress, go to Caesar's Palace, and they had all the time in the world to go in my room, try on the clothes they wanted, and left the clothes they didn't like." And he said, "Well, how do I know you had these clothes in the first place?" I said, "Come on. I understand if I leave valuables or money out in the open in the room, shame on me. But do you really think that I should take all my clothes every time I leave the room and shove them in a security box and also take photos of it?" And he just wasn't going to do anything for me. So I get in a taxi because, I need to go home. And I tell the cab driver the whole story. And he said, "This is terrible for tourism. There's a police station at the airport. You should tell them all about it." So I said, "Okay, I'm going to go to Sergeant Mayberry." I give him the whole story. And Sergeant Mayberry calls the hotel and he's getting nowhere. He's trying to find out what maids on ship. No, nothing. So I said, "Sergeant Mayberry, don't worry about it. I need to go home." So that Monday morning through work, we all compare stories. Everybody tells what happened during the weekend, and then we talk about business. So when it came time for me, they said, "So Barbara, how was your weekend?" And I said, "Well, I can literally say I lost the shirt off my back in Las Vegas." Now, my company said, "Barbara, try, to get something out of that hotel, but if they don't, we'll reimburse you." And they did. But when I think of Rancho, I do think now El Rancho. But don't worry, your travel agent will never book you in that hotel because it doesn't exist anymore. So you're safe. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.